Chakra is the very fundamental basis behind Naruto's power system. It is the energy that powers everything within the universe, whether it be Ninjutsu, Genjutsu, Juinjutsu, and even certain forms of taijutsu. This allows everything to be easily understood for the most part, but there's something that never quite made sense, which is the origins of chakra itself. You see, chakra as a concept was first introduced in chapter 17 of Naruto's manga, which funnily enough, Naruto had no idea what chakra was at this point in time despite being a ninja on an active mission, but that is Naruto for ya. The point is that chakra was said to function in a very specific way but was later retconned twice. The first explanation was provided when Sakura said that the energy needed to perform jutsu has two parts. The body's energy that's in each of your cells and the spiritual energy gained through training and other experiences. So by bringing out and releasing chakra, you can use a jutsu, which of course is performed using hand signs. So in a sense, the production of chakra is seen as a deliberate act, not something everyone has naturally. This of course is later backed up in chapter 90 during Naruto's training with Ibisu. He goes on to say that this diagram shows the flow of physical and mental energies collectively called stamina, which move within the body whenever a ninja uses ninjutsu, taijutsu, or genjutsu. This is important to note since the diagram indicates that the central portion, which shows the rotating arrows, is where the production of chakra occurs, by the way of mixing mental and physical energies. This then flows into the chakra section, which of course is clearly naturally empty. He then further notes that taijutsu does not require chakra outside of a few exceptions. It is only necessary to expend the precise amount of stamina needed by that particular move. This is also displayed by Mr. Rockley expending 30% of his stamina to produce taijutsu, which of course leaves him with 70% of his stamina gauge. Now, in the case of ninjutsu or genjutsu, this is a tad bit different since one must first amass the chakra needed to perform the technique. This is shown by Naruto extracting 30% of his stamina and using it to produce the equivalent amount of chakra. In this example, he's using the shadow clone technique that requires 10% chakra, which then leaves him with 20% chakra and 70% remaining stamina. He then notes that if both your stamina and chakra fell to zero, you will die. This of course is very important since the possibility of dying due to chakra exhaustion was initially mentioned by Kakashi. This happened during his Chidori training where Kakashi informed Sasuke that his limit is 2 Chidori in one day, at least for now. And this was specifically due to the amount of chakra Sasuke could produce at that point in time, not because of any other factors. Sasuke then asked him what would happen if he tried to use more than 2, and Kakashi outright says that he will die. And his reasoning for this was because Sasuke's chakra would be drained to 0. Now this has constantly been brought up as a retcon in Naruto since it's somewhat contradicted by Ibisu. It says that if your chakra and stamina both fall to 0, you would die, while Kakashi never mentions stamina. So in one instance you die if your chakra reaches 0, and in another instance it's both your chakra and stamina. Now to be fair, this isn't much of a problem since stamina creates chakra. So one could simply say that Kakashi is assuming that Sasuke wouldn't have any chakra left because he also doesn't have any stamina. Because of course, if Sasuke does have stamina, he could simply create more chakra. That can still be a bit confusing since chakra is shown to have its own section that is normally empty until a ninja creates chakra. So it would have been way better if Kakashi said that Sasuke would have died if he had 0 stamina instead of 0 chakra. Also, the diagram itself is a tad bit weird since it has mental and physical energy mixed in one section, which is what stamina is. Then for some reason it has to then pour into another section to mix again to create chakra. This of course doesn't make sense since they were already mixed, so why have them separated as indicated by the 2 branches just to have them merge again? This would have made way more sense if there was a line in the middle which separated the mental from the physical energy, which would explain the need to have them mixed to create chakra. So that part was a tad bit nonsensical. By the way, there's another component to chakra most people aren't aware of, which is the fact that the chakra that isn't immediately used is wasted. In this example, Naruto is especially bad at manipulating chakra. So even though he only needs 30% chakra to use the Shadow Clone Jutsu, he creates 50% chakra instead. And since his chakra control is also poor, he ends up using 10% of the 30% needed to use the jutsu, which results in a barely functioning Shadow Clone. What happens next is very important because the leftover 40% chakra just turns to waste for some reason. So yeah, ninjas don't have the ability to retain the chakra they produce. They have to use all of it for the intended jutsu, or it apparently just evaporates into nothingness. This is because according to Ibisu, ninjas just can't recycle the surplus chakra back into their stamina pool, and extra chakra just goes to waste. Now of course you have ninjas like Sakura that possess perfect chakra control, which means that she produces the exact amount of chakra needed for the intended jutsu every time, which is why she has zero waste. This of course is very interesting by the way because it goes back to the original point of Kakashi saying if Sasuke's chakra goes to zero, he will die. When it's also the case that a ninja's chakra is always at zero for the most part, and any chakra that isn't immediately used after creation just goes to waste for some reason. By the way, it's also then contradicted in the war again, when the Ten Tails says that when Naruto is in Biju chakra mode, the Nine Tails is sucking up his own chakra, and that's because Naruto has set aside his own chakra to use the Kyuubi chakra, so he's not using both at the same time. They then also illustrate this, by the way, by showing this section in Naruto's body that has his chakra, and outright says again that if his chakra levels reaches zero, he's going to die. This of course, again, doesn't really make sense since a ninja's chakra is always at zero anyway, unless they create a certain amount to use a certain jutsu. So Naruto shouldn't even be having this issue with the Nine Tails since there shouldn't be any Naruto chakra for him to steal because Naruto wouldn't need to create his own chakra while using KCM as they themselves just said. Now speaking of the Nine Tails, it's also said that the 4th Hokage constructed the tetragram seal on Naruto's stomach so that a little bit of the Nine Tails chakra leaks out to be skimmed off in hopes of becoming one with Naruto's chakra, which assumes that there's this ever-present pool of Naruto's chakra for it to merge with, which we already established isn't the case. I mean, Naruto himself says that the reason why he has plenty of Naruto chakra is because of the Nine Tails chakra that skimmed off into his own pool over the years, which by the way also implies that Naruto is able to repurpose excess chakra and store it within himself, which was previously stated to not be possible, which is why whenever a ninja creates more chakra than a jutsu needs, the excess chakra is just wasted. So how is Naruto able to store the excess chakra that skimmed off from the Nine Tails over the years, and why was it viewed as normal while the opposite of this was also viewed as normal at the same time? Now of course, one could simply say that the Nine Tails chakra just works differently, so it bypasses whatever causes excess chakra to just dissipate, and everyone knows this. Though I think it would have been better to just not add this metric where ninjas are not able to store excess chakra for later use, especially when you have Kakashi saying that Naruto and Sasuke have massive untapped chakra reserves, which literally implies that it is chakra retained for future use. That is what a reserve is. Now everything I said was a blatant contradiction, makes perfect sense based on this later retcon. You see, it was later revealed that an entity called the Ten Tails was brought to the planet by the Otsutsuki, which is then used to absorb the chakra of all living things on the planet, the key word there being chakra. And since it was initially explained that chakra is created by molding your mental and physical energies together multiple times by Sakura, Ibisu, and even the Toad Sages, it would make sense since you could simply argue that humans always had chakra since they always possessed mental and physical energies. But for some reason Kishimoto decided to retcon this during the war. This of course came in the form of Madara explaining that chakra was originally given to humans by the Sage of Six Paths. It was meant to be a linking power, something that would connect the mental energies between people. Instead, what ended up happening is that after some time, people used that chakra to not connect with each other, but to link their mental and physical energies within themselves as a way to amplify the chakra that was given to them. So what this means is that humans weren't able to use their mental and physical energies to create chakra. They used the chakra Hagoromo gave to them to link those energies, which then amplified that same chakra. By the way, amplify just means to increase the intensity of something that is already there. It's not the same as creating something that isn't there, which is what they initially said that humans did, by the way. They said that they used mental and physical energy to create and produce chakra. They used those words multiple times. So this is just a blatant retcon since it also implies that humans always had chakra present within their bodies at all times, which is the opposite of what was said in part 1. Even so, this retcon is ironically more consistent with everything else said in the series outside of that one interaction with Ibisu. Since if everyone always has chakra, which is then amplified by your internal energies when you want to create a jutsu, it makes sense why people would have chakra reserves, as Kakashi said in part 1. It also now makes sense how the Ninetales chakra was skimmed off into Naruto's always present and existing chakra pool. It makes sense that the Ninetales had Naruto's chakra to steal while he was in KCM, even though Naruto wasn't creating more of his own chakra. It makes sense why it's stated multiple times that if one's chakra goes to 0, they will die. Because humans don't create chakra. They can just amplify existing chakra which everyone is born with. So once it goes to 0, that is it. Which is also why Kakashi dies in the pain arc after using up the last drop of his chakra. Everything makes sense once you ignore the in-depth explanation provided by Ibisu in part 1 and just go with Madara's instead. And by the way, this isn't a case where you can just say that Ibisu just didn't know what he was talking about, because Kakashi was also there and backed up what he was saying, even though Kakashi himself later goes on to contradict this. So this obviously is a retcon. Now with that said, this does raise an issue, which is that Hagoromo, being the son of Kaguya, means that he gave humans chakra years after he defeated Kaguya and sealed her on the moon. So how did the Tentals Kaguya cultivated absorb the chakra of humans before she had children, if humans didn't have chakra until her son gave it to them years later? Mind you, it was literally stated that the Tentals sucks the chakra from all living things on the planet, the key word there being chakra. So if humans didn't have chakra, how was it taking chakra from these humans? And how did it bear a chakra fruit? It just doesn't make sense. Now, if I was to patch this plot hole, I would simply say that humans always had chakra even prior to Hagoromo giving them his chakra. It just wasn't as potent to allow them to later weaponize it to form jutsu. This, of course, is just my headcanon. It directly contradicts what is actually said in the manga, which is why this is one of the actual legitimate plot holes in Naruto. I will say that another possibility is that the Tentals absorbs more than just chakra, since we also know that it absorbs the natural energy of the planet, which is of course not chakra. So that's why I'm not sure why they use the word chakra instead of energy, since the Tentals clearly absorbs all kinds of energy, not just chakra. So a simple swap of the word chakra to energy would explain why it also absorbs the existing mental and physical energies of humans who didn't yet possess chakra, the same way it absorbs the natural energy of the planet. The problem is that both Naruto and Boruto plays a very loose game when it comes to the meaning of words. On one hand, the Biju are described as pure chakra, while the Tentals, that consist of the chakra of said Biju, is also said to be a mass of natural energy. This of course doesn't make sense, since natural energy is stated to be different from chakra. So the Tentals is literally the chakra of the Biju combined, since they were created using the chakra of the Tentals. How can the Tentals also just be a mass of natural energy? It clearly also has chakra. The same thing for the Biju as well. If the Tentals is a mass of natural energy, how can the Biju be pure chakra when they were created using the energy of the Tentals? Something just doesn't quite connect. Boruto also does this as well, where Boruto himself says that Uzuhiko uses the planet's chakra, which we later come to find out is just the kinetic energy the planet generates by simply rotating. So why would Boruto call that chakra and not just planetary energy? I have no idea. It does seem as if chakra is just another name for energy instead of being a distinctive type of energy, so one can just call anything chakra and it wouldn't be a problem. With that said, I did find something very interesting while doing my research for this video, because I forgot about it. I mean, I haven't read part 1 of Naruto in a very long time. But there are two distinctive types of directional chakra users. Mr. Jiraiya points out to Naruto that because it is necessary to mix energies in order to manipulate chakra, we unconsciously swirl those energies around inside ourselves. Some people happen to rotate them clockwise and some counterclockwise. In short, if you visualize, let's say, the water inside the balloon swirling in the opposite direction of your personal directional type, your chakra flow gets impeded and you won't be able to build up good rotation. They can also tell your directional type using the pattern of your hair. The way your hair grows indicates what it is right away. So if it goes to the right, you are a clockwise type, and if it goes to the left, you're a counterclockwise type instead. Now this means nothing to the video topic at hand, maybe like, somewhat in some sense. I mean, the video is about chakra, but it doesn't really fit into the entire plot hole theme. But it's not just a little fun thing that I think I should mention because I doubt most people remember the same way I didn't, so, whatever. But yeah, with that said guys, that is it for the video. I could go more in depth, but I think, I don't need to overcomplicate what I'm saying here. It's pretty clear that there are some retcons that happened in Naruto. Does it mean it's a bad thing? Retcons happen all the time in a lot of series, but I think I should point this out because I do find it a bit interesting, and some of the things haven't really been explained. We're just left to, come up with our own theories on, whether humans had chakra before, or does the 10 tails absorb more than just chakra, even though they tell us multiple times that what it absorbs is chakra, despite this being contradicted by the 10 tails literally absorbing more than just chakra over the course of the series. So that's one thing. But yeah, if you guys have any thoughts down below, don't go crazy, okay? Keep it calm, keep it civil, have a discussion below, and let me know your thoughts. But yeah, if you guys liked it, drop a like, and if you're new, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.